Welcome back, everyone, to our Mom Founded series. Really excited to be joining the beautiful Sarah Brady today, founder of the Salt Design Company in Red Bank, New Jersey. Welcome. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to learn more about you. We're going to be chatting about challenges and triumphs of being a working mom and a mompreneur. We've worked a little bit with Monmouth Moms together over the years, but I'm excited to learn more about how you got started, what it's like being a mom, working mom in Monmouth County. We were just chatting a little bit before we started about all the craziness that is June. Yeah. In some areas, they say like May-cember, because like some, I think, in different states, school ends, but here, like it's really June. June is like nonstop. It's tough.
It definitely is. It definitely is.
So getting all the things done, and then there's like some solace because you know that summer is like right there and we can relax soon, but it's like not quite. We're like at the finish line.
Exactly. I was going to say we can see the finish line.
Yeah. So tell me, where are you from?
I originally am from north of Boston. So I grew up in Massachusetts. I went to college up there and then moved down to the city after school. And then we have been here in Monmouth County now for about 12 years.
So my uncle lives in Weston. Is that near?
Okay, so I grew up north of Boston, but that's a little bit west of Boston.
Got it. Okay.
But I went to Boston College, which is not far from there.
Oh,
so, yeah.
Okay. I love Boston. Yeah. I never get to go enough as I'd like, but
I know.
But it's great. So you went to BC, and tell me, what was your major?
Finance.
Okay.
When I was applying to colleges, I wanted to originally go to school for architecture, and so that was kind of my focus. And then I got into BC Early Action in November, and it was kind of the school I'd always wanted to go to, so I decided to go there. The issue was that they didn't have an architecture program, so I originally went to school for math. Did 2 years of that being my major, didn't really know where I wanted to go with that, and decided that finance was the best option as it was an applied math. So I was a finance and marketing major from there, and then I ended up going into finance. So that's what my first job was.
Okay.
I did that for 8 years. I worked on a trading floor at Morgan Stanley and left now 10 years ago to start Salt.
So what was it about that industry that you liked, that you didn't like, that you felt like gravitated to start your own business at the time?
So I think that there was a couple reasons. I think that I loved my job. I loved the people I worked with. I worked with some really, really smart individuals. It was a very dynamic atmosphere. Everything was different day to day. It just wasn't something I was passionate about. So I think that after a while, I think I did it for 8 years. I was ready for a little bit more creativity, I think. Right. And that really wasn't something that you could work towards in that field. So while I loved it on a day-to-day basis, it wasn't something that I really wanted to do forever. So, I kind of looked into what the next steps would be. Interior design is something I was always passionate about. I grew up with a dad that was a residential contractor, and I've been designing my own spaces since I was little.
Really?
I was the kid who had a dollhouse that didn't actually have any dolls in it. I just redid the wallpaper every 6 months and things like that. Was
your room, was your locker at school, perfectly
Oh yeah, and I used to move around my room once a quarter, I think, right. And my mom would be like, "What are we doing again?"
Oh my God. I love to do that, by the way, just just shift the room up a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
And
so my mom has always loved interiors and stuff like that too. So she always would, allow me to move things and redesign my space. I was working in finance. My husband and I had just gotten married, and I was trying to figure out what the next step would be. And people I had talked to in this industry, they had recommended reaching out to interior designers that you liked and possibly going and getting an internship. And I just knew my personality wasn't that. So I decided to kind of go all in on myself. I opened the store in Asbury in 2014, and I kind of used that as my launching point for the interior design portion of my career. So, I left my job on June 1st and gave myself 2 months to build out the store, and we opened the store on August 1st. So wow. It was a quick turnaround, but it was a a great move for me.
So you're living in Monmouth County at that point, and did your husband help you open the store, or does he work in a different capacity?
He works in finance. That's
Okay.
actually where we met.
Okay.
So at that time, we were splitting our time between Hoboken, and then we had a house down in Seagirt. So we were kind of 50-50 between those two spaces. I knew I wanted to be in Monmouth County somewhere, and at the time, my husband was actually in the process of opening, or on the team that opened the beer garden in Asbury. So that was kind of how we started looking around that area. There happened to be a space available. So yes, then we opened that up. It was a labor of love. You know, my dad came down and helped us build a wall and put shiplap up and do the floors and things like that. So we got it all put together in those 2 months, and then the rest is history.
So you already know the answer because you mentioned before, but your first child was born soon after that.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
What
Found
was
out.
that like?
Unexpected. No, we found out I was pregnant about 4 months after opening Salt. So it was a whirlwind for sure. Mm-hmm. I just started a business. I was working 7 days a week. I was working I was working the Asbury hours. So I was there Friday and Saturday nights until 8 p.m.
Right, because the crowd it's a much later crowd, I'd imagine. Right,
exactly. So I was there a lot.
Right.
It kept me on my feet for a significant portion of my pregnancy.
Wow.
It was definitely like an adjustment, for sure. I mean, having a child is definitely an adjustment,
right.
regardless of situation. But I went back to work pretty soon after, and realized then with my second, some things I would have probably done differently the second time around.
So the shop in Asbury initially was home decor and then also interior design services.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So we were home decor and furniture, things like that, and then the interior design services kind of grew out of that.
Right.
So
like helping people. Oh, what would I do with this? Like, how would I? Yeah.
Exactly.
After this, I'm gonna send you a picture of this like giant shelf that I bought years ago, and every 2 months I just
redo it.
Because I'm like, this looks like the crap. Like, I gotta figure this out. But yeah, a lot of people need help. They don't know, I like that piece, but what the heck do I do with it?
Definitely. And I think everybody in this office can attest that I redo these shelves every few months because they drive me crazy, and I'll just walk by one random time and be like, okay, that's it, I'm changing them.
Oh.
So I think, but yeah, it's something that I've always loved doing and love helping people do. So it grew pretty quickly out of there. And then we opened our second location in Fairhaven in November of 2017. Mm-hmm. So my daughter at that point was just turned 2.
Okay.
And so we had 2 locations running for a while. And then when the Asbury lease was up, we decided that instead of having 2 retail locations, mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
We really needed dedicated office space. Mm-hmm. So that's how we ended up here. So when the Asbury lease was over, we started looking around and we came across this space, and so then we had the retail location and then we had this office space.
Okay. So talk to me about what it's been like running a business, growing a business that is, it seems like it's grown tremendously over the last decade, but your background is in finance. What was it like learning how to, staff a team and then while you're, a new mother and all of the challenges that come along with all of that?
Yeah, it's definitely been a learning experience.
Yeah.
It started with just me. I was the only employee. And then about a month or so into having the store open in Asbury, I hired Jess, who's still with me to this day. So and we currently have about 11 employees here. Mm-hmm. So we've grown quite a bit over the last 10 years. And like I said, it's been a learning experience. So there's been ups, there's downs. Going from an environment where they're working with, 50,000 employees at a firm, there's a lot of people that, have dedicated job roles, which is very different from a small business. Whereas here, I do everything from cleaning out the refrigerator to running payroll to handling operations, speaking to clients. We're definitely multifaceted
Yeah.
in terms of what everybody does.
Right.
And I think there's a lot of pros and cons to both sides of things, but it's definitely made you have to learn a lot of different job roles. I do think that my background in finance and operations has definitely helped me in terms of running the business portion of what SALT is, and I really think that's something that I pride myself on and pride ourselves on is the service that we provide to clients and our operational capabilities and just the project management and things like that we offer to people. So not, just outside of our design aesthetic, it's really, I would say about 80-90% of what we do is operations, right? It's project management, it's tracking, it's ordering, it's making sure things are there on time. So while you think of designing as being fun and picking out wallpapers all day long, really primarily what we do is managing a project. So that's there's definitely been a lot of overlap between my two sides of my careers. And the other part of what I do, which has been fantastic, is being able to run your own business has given me a ton of flexibility in terms of raising my kids. So while I'm here a lot, I'm also only live about 15 minutes away. So I'm able to get to all of the May-Sember, functions that are
17 recitals and
exactly. Tomorrow we have my son's moving up ceremony. Last week we had a moving up ceremony and a concert and field day, and then we had another field day. So it does definitely give me the ability to be at those things and get to be present, and that was really important to me also. And like my kids are playing sports all around here, so if there's a place I want to be, I can easily be there, and hop on my computer later at night or for a couple hours on the weekend or whatever needs to happen in order to stay on top of things.
Right. I love to talk about the silver linings of COVID, and I'd imagine that your business probably transformed itself into something that it wasn't pre-COVID because everyone was home, sitting, looking at their spaces, wanting to redesign, to move, and not only that, but the influx of new people in Monmouth County that came from the cities. What was that like for you?
Definitely. There was a huge increase in demand, as you can imagine. So many people moved to the area, so many people moved in general, so many people were home, which was amazing, right? Any sort of influx of business is always a good thing. That being said, it definitely presented its fair share of challenges, so that we had all of a sudden this increased demand and not necessarily the infrastructure to be able to take on all the increased demand. But we figured it out. We worked through it. I think we have a very flexible team. We have a great team in place. People, took on a little bit more than they might have been used to. I think it definitely forced us to test our own personal limits, and everything went really well. The other side of it was all the issues with that's what I'm looking for. All the issues with the access to product and transit issues and things like that we were experiencing globally, really, and back orders and things like that were definitely difficult to manage for about 2 years.
I was going to say 3 years maybe, right?
Maybe even 3. Maybe it's PTSD. I don't actually go back and remember exactly how long it was.
We just had Red Bank Volvo on the podcast, and they were talking about how it's finally back, but it's taken that long. Where
and that's true.
Right.
I mean, the supply chain management. Sorry, I never thought of it. It definitely had taken a while. It took a while. I think it is back to normal at this point, but like them, we're probably hesitant to say it's back to normal because then all of a sudden you'll see some sort of disruption.
Issues,
it was definitely it was definitely a challenging time to navigate. I mean, we had multiple times where we designed an entire home worth of furniture, and then they went to a 50-week lead time. And so you have to redesign everything that you've picked out because these clients don't necessarily want to wait a year to receive a sofa. So it was something that, we had to navigate just like everybody else did. I don't think that there was any industry that wasn't affected by COVID in good or bad ways. But it was, it was a fun challenge to try to take on, when you are trying to grow the business during, a global pandemic. It's definitely brought its fair share of challenges along the way.
So at what point do you have your son?
6 months before COVID.
Oh, wow.
So he just turned 5 actually last week. So he was born in June of 2019, and then I guess 9 months later was the start of COVID. So it was interesting trying to work from home those first few weeks,
Right.
you know, when you didn't have childcare or things like that, because everybody was just at home. And so I had a baby and running a business, and my husband worked in finance. And so we actually, at that time, had a long desk, and his computer was here and my computer was here. And we're both trying to work with like 2 kids at home. And, you know, he had CNBC on the TV next to me, and it was definitely giving me some flashbacks to like my former life. I remember at one point he had like left the room, and he asked, you know, for some color on what was happening in the market, and I like automatically switched back into like my old self and like saying words I probably hadn't said in like 7 years at that point,
Right,
you know.
right.
And so yeah, it was definitely challenging for sure to have 2 small kids at home. And that spring, my daughter was in her final year of pre-K, and she did not go back to school, obviously, at all. I don't think anybody did, right?
Our daughters are the same age.
Right,
so
right, yeah, exactly.
She never like
Never
did the
went back to
graduation
school.
or whatever.
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
Yeah.
So thankfully, she was at a Montessori school. So that following fall, she did go back to in-person, full-day kindergarten, which was...
Yeah, that was like my saving grace.
Thank God.
With just navigating that whole time, because it was challenging to have the
Definitely.
kids. You know, I don't know how the parents did it with the, you know, like homeschool basically, essentially for almost a year, I think, right? I don't know. We never really did it, except if it was like there was like a spike or something. I forget. I don't know.
I remember at one point my daughter actually got COVID over right before Christmas. My husband and my daughter both did. And I was trying to do the at-home, like virtual school and trying to log in and, you know, trying to keep my son at this, that what I believe was the winter of 21. So at that point, like he was a little older and he kept running in the room, but I'm wearing an N95 mask around my 6-year-old and trying to keep him out.
Right.
And, you know, and at one point we're on like the live camera because I finally figured out how to get it all set up, and he just grabbed her bottle of water and drank out of her bottle of water, and I'm like, okay, I give up. Like I try to keep everybody sane and safe and apart from each other, but yeah, it was definitely an interesting time to try to navigate.
Oh my gosh! So you're celebrating your 10-year anniversary.
We are.
Has it passed, or is it
this August 1st?
Congratulations!
Yeah, thank you very much.
Tell me what lights you up about your business now. What are some services that you offer? What clients do you love to, to work? Not clients specifically, but what projects do you love to work with, and what's exciting to you about your business now and going into the future?
Yeah, I think our business has definitely evolved considerably over the past 10 years. Like I said, we started off as a retail company, and our design services grew out of that. And very quickly, our design services overtook the retail portion of what we did. And we had to make a very difficult decision earlier this year to close our Fairhaven store. So after, I think it was six years of having that open, we made that decision to ultimately focus primarily on the interior design portion of what we do. So it was bittersweet for sure. We had done it for 9.5 years, but it was time to really kind of refocus my energy and work on what we saw as being the forward trajectory of the business, and that's on the interior design side of things. We work on a whole host of different projects. So we do, 1-2 room projects where we're just doing the soft furnishings up to huge renovations and new construction. And I think that, I have certain portions of all projects that we really love working on, but I think it's just seeing the end result is really what makes it all worth it in the end. We've had a few clients that said, I had, no idea what was involved in the process, especially of building a new home or doing a huge renovation. And we do a lot of these a year. So really, our main goal is to not only create a beautiful space, but really like a space that works for the homeowners.
Right.
And, when they walk into it and they say, I never would have thought of that, or, I never would have, considered that, or I had no idea that this is everything that was, involved in this. And hearing how happy they are to have worked with us, that's really what makes it worth it.
Yeah. So I know, and I love interior design. I've yet to work with one, but I know that some of the benefits are, that someone can go in and look at a space and see, not what the client sees at the time. Do you work with clients that are looking at houses and perhaps haven't purchased yet and can go in and kind of say, like, this is what is possible?
We definitely have. I think that there's been, obviously the phenomenon that's been happening in and around Monmouth County is there's not a whole lot of inventory.
Yep.
So we definitely have done that in the past, but I think that people are becoming it's just such a fast moving cycle right now. But we have had a lot of people that have bought houses and they're like, okay, now what do we do? Right. There wasn't a lot available. Maybe they were trying to get in before a school year, or they're trying to move from the city, or whatever it may be, or they moved during COVID, and now they're like, now what do we do with the space? Right, we do a lot of those. And then we work on a lot of second beach homes as well down in like the Spring Lake, Seagirt, Bayhead area. So, we're doing a lot of new construction homes down there as well.
In some cases, is it more economical to work with a designer rather than taking on a project by yourself and like thinking that, you see like a picture in a magazine and you're like, I want to do this, and then you just hire a contractor and then things get like, are you able to streamline it? Okay. Yeah.
I mean, I think that there's basically what we're here to do is to help you avoid making mistakes, right? And so mistakes can be costly.
Right.
And the other thing is time is money, right?
Yeah.
So, a project, listen, I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that can put together a finished space, but, there's a lot that goes into these spaces. And I think there's a lot that people don't even realize that goes into the spaces. And so really what we're here to do is to provide a service for it to be more efficient, number one, and to two, help you avoid any of those, costly mistakes that you might experience. And also, we have a huge list of trusted subcontractors and vendors that we work with all the time, which really, helps, I think, not only help you save time and money, but also, we're able to look at quotes and see if they're within what we think is a reasonable range, or, we're able to really help guide you in terms of where you should be looking or what you should be looking for, or, different qualities of things too. Because, just like a car, you can have a Honda and you can have a Bentley, and there's a whole host of, different cars in between. It's the same thing with interior design and with furniture too. Right. It's just not as easily recognizable by a certain brand name. So really, well, that's another service that we provide, is helping you figure out where you want to be and what's the best value for the level of quality and craftsmanship, and that within your budget, that where do you guys want to land?
Right. Because there's, like you said, there's a lot that goes into it, and especially with a maybe young family, and what you're investing in, and what furniture is the most important, and what is going to get the wear and tear, and what's not. My couch, by the way, did not. 4 years in, I'm like, oh my gosh. So stuff like that. It's like, but what do you what,
right?
What,
and inevitably,
if
we have tons and tons of performance fabrics, and we're constantly learning about the new technologies that are out and what's available and things like that. But ultimately, fabric is a fabric, right? So if you have a big muddy dog that jumps on the couch, like, it's still going to get muddy. It's just, is it cleanable? How cleanable is it? How many times can you clean it? And things like that. And so, definitely helping our clients navigate where to spend the money and what makes the most sense is a huge part of what we do.
Yeah, and especially in like where they are in their lives too.
Exactly.
I'm sure is a big part of it.
Definitely.
Earlier this year, we hosted a summit, which was a day of inspiration to help working moms, get clarity if they're building their own business, or hear from other moms who have built their own successful careers, and kind of gave feedback about their journey and shared their story. It was a great day. And I think the biggest piece that most of the moms took away from it was, that saying yes to things, right? Saying yes to yourself, giving yourself grace, and that it is challenging, right? The being a working parent, not, it comes with a whole host of challenges, and the whole cycle of motherhood is so different. The mom that you were, 8 years ago is a different mom that you are now, right? Just because your daughter has different needs and is in different, extracurricular activities, and just managing your day. Time is so precious, and I can attest to that. But what would you say is like the biggest challenge of being a working parent currently, and what you think that we need as working moms the most?
I think the biggest challenge is just time, right? And feeling like you're giving enough time to all aspects of your life. Are you giving enough time to your children? Are you giving enough time to your partner? Are you giving enough time to your family? Are you giving enough time to work? It's like time is your fixed asset, right? And how do you break that up? And so what I found personally is that being organized and staying as on top of things as possible is really what makes me feel best. And so if that's taking a little extra time to look at schedules and look at timing and looking at calendars and writing out lists and things like that, I find that mentally helps me a lot. And because I know what to expect, and I'm able to kind of allocate my time as as efficiently as possible. Now listen, there's times where I feel like I'm not doing a great job at work, or I'm not doing a great job at home. And there's those peaks and valleys throughout the whole time. And then my other big thing that I've had to learn is, because you're exactly right, my role as a mother has certainly changed over the past 8.5, almost 9 years.
Right.
And their needs are very different along the way, is that I try to outsource where and when I can. I try to outsource for home, and I try to outsource for here, or rely on my employees to help take over certain aspects of the job when I realize that I'm either getting spread too thin, again, either home or here. So
was that hard for you to let go? Like, was that something that, okay, because I struggle with that big time, where it's like, I could do it better, so I'm going to do that, but it's not sustainable.
It's not sustainable.
Right.
And I think it took me a really long time to be comfortable with that. But ultimately, I realized that it relieved a lot of stress off of me, and it allowed me to kind of grow in other areas. And so, I have now a fantastic COO, Erin, who has been with us for about 6 years.
Wow.
And I was hiring for that position for a long time. But again, my background was in finance and operations, and so I was handling everything from the billing and finance side of things. I was ordering everything, I was invoicing everybody, I was sending out all proposals, and there was a cap. There was a cap on how big we could get, because I couldn't take on anymore and continue doing all aspects of what we were doing.
Right.
I interviewed extensively for that position and really could not find anybody that
fit
well enough, because I knew that if I was going to invest the time and effort of training that person to take over all of that, it was such a huge part of the business. It was a huge risk.
Yeah.
So really, I finally found Erin, and she's been amazing, and she's really kind of changed like the whole trajectory of our business, because it's freed up so much of my time to be able to focus on other aspects of the business.
And grow and scale. And yeah.
And her first day also, we were sitting next to each other, closer than you and I are, and we're training, and my mom called, and at that point she was the only one that knew I was pregnant with my second. And she started talking to me about how I was pregnant, and I put the phone down, I turned to Erin, thinking that she heard the whole entire conversation. I was like, I'm pregnant. So literally her first day, like her second hour of working at Salt, she found out I was pregnant. And honestly, I had already hired her prior to me finding out. So it was a blessing in disguise, because 9 months later,
you're like, guess
I
what?
really needed her.
I'm really gonna need you.
So we had a good 9 months of working together until I was, she kind of took things over for me. So
do you find that something that you've really worried about within your, building this over the years, that like really, if you put like all of your effort into blood, sweat, and tears, that it like always kind of works out that way, where like things come to you in the right way, and sometimes it's like not worth the worry? Are you a worrier like that way?
I'm not a huge worrier. I think that also, yes and no, I should say. I have found, just been my experience over the past decade of doing this, that you might have an idea of where you want to be, but that's not always how the universe works.
Yes.
And so kind of, I think, taking opportunities that might come along and being like, maybe I'm not ready for it, but it's definitely the time to go ahead and move forward and take and try.
Okay.
I think there's been a bunch of those that have happened, but there's also been times where like a really amazing or seemingly amazing opportunity has presented itself, that I've sat back and I've evaluated not only where I want Salt to be and what my goals are for Salt, but also what my personal life looks like, and looking at what this opportunity might cause to happen and on both aspects of my life, and I've had to say no. And I think that has been hard, because that's not my personality. My personality is to like constantly do more.
Yeah,
I can do it. I always, I think like a lot of women, we kind of put ourselves last, but I'm always thinking that there's more that I can do. So it's very hard for me to say no to those types of situations. But I have said no recently, and it's actually, I think, worked out and been very beneficial to not only me as a mom, me as a wife, but also Salt in general as well.
Right. And sometimes too, like a better opportunity comes down the road, and it's just better suited for you and for your family.
Exactly. And ultimately there's only 11 of us that work here. So there's a huge opportunity cost if you're, taking on a project or taking on an opportunity that might not be the best fit for you.
It's not just you.
It's not just me.
Right.
So you have to kind of take that into consideration as well.
Right. What are some of your most gratifying moments, or something that you can share as a working mom, especially having a daughter, that makes it all worth it, right? Because it's like you said, it's flexible, and it's great that you're your own boss. But I always say, everyone, even a mom, you have a business, your boss is essentially your clients, right? Everyone has someone to answer to. What are some things that make it all worth it, and make it even though it's challenging throughout the day?
I think on the design side of things, seeing a project come to fruition and really seeing that final end product, there's such like a visual representation of the work that you've put in.
Right.
It's not just me, my whole team, and seeing a client that's just really happy with the outcome and loves their space, and they get to live in their space too, right? It's not just like a one-time event. It's now they have something to show for themselves and show to friends and family and live in and appreciate every single day. So I think that's really on the professional side of things, something that is it's why we do it, right? Is to get that, to be able to help people and see those projects through to fruition. I think also, on the personal side of things, just having my daughter and my son seeing, me managing all these different aspects of life and being able to kind of show them what it's like to be here and be running a business, and like they love coming here, and
right.
They run right to the snack area. But I think that's just what they know. They know me being busy. They know me being here. They, my team comes to my house all the time for photo shoots and things like that. And my daughter jokes that my car is never empty. It always has a chair in the back, or the seats are always folded down because I've got a painting back there and stuff. So she just knows I'm managing a lot of different things, and it's nice to, I think, have them see that as well.
Yeah. No, you don't know what they're thinking, but when they're older, they'll, I promise, because I have a 20-year-old, and he says things, and I'm like, I never thought that he actually appreciated, the hard work and just things that, they observe.
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
For sure.
And I think that, my daughter certainly, and my son is starting to now. He's going to be in kindergarten in the fall. But, he said just the other day, he's like, I like doing hard work. I don't want things to be easy.
Good.
Okay. I like that. I'm
That's so great.
Maybe we are doing something right here.
Yes. He's not expecting a handout, I guess.
I'll take it. I'll definitely take it.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Tell me your favorite spots in Monmouth County to hang out with them on the weekends when you have some time, when you're not going to a million different school activities.
Yeah, well, we go to the beach club over in Seabright. We go to Surfrider Beach Club, so we're there a lot during the summer.
Okay.
And we actually live very close to Seabright Bridge there, so we go to Angelica's as often as we possibly can.
Yeah.
And there's so many places in and around here. We were in Fairhaven for so long. We would always go across the street to Sadie James. It's a women's clothing store. Yeah. I would stop in there, for anytime I needed something like that night. I was in there all the time.
Yeah.
So
great denim.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there's so many places. I'm at Rook every single day. And then Patty at 3rd and Lenox is my go-to for a lot of different things, including now flowers. So
she's great.
With all the florals that we do around here, we're constantly looking for something like day of or next day, and so I'm texting Patty for help.
Do you work with her on projects too sometimes?
Yeah. They
organization
clean a lot of the projects that we work on. We a lot of times are directing them their way. So.
Oh, that's great. Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
I just had a thought, and now I don't remember what it was. We were talking, all the things to do in Monmouth County. Last year, I'm always adding, new stuff and new guides and stuff. And I was thinking how like you kind of take it for granted sometimes when you live by the beach, and like we go all the time, but there's a lot of like outdoor water sport like activities that like I kind of really never knew were there, because when you think about stuff like that, you do it like on vacation,
right?
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's like parasailing and kayaking and canoeing, and you can rent boats. So I put this whole guide together. It just came out this week.
Oh, cool.
Of like there's all these like water sport companies, and like there's a lot to do that like you can go like tubing and all of these like different things that I have no idea.
I didn't either. We'll have to check it out.
You'll have to check
Yeah.
it out for sure.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your story. So inspiring. Tell moms where they can find you.
They can find us in Red Bank. We're located in the Anderson Building at 200 Monmouth Street, and our website is saltdesigncompany.com.
I'll also put everything in the notes here so everyone can find you and hire you for a beautiful project. Such a beautiful space.
Thank you so much.
I enjoyed getting to know you, so thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for coming in.